Last night at about 2 a.m., my dog started barking viciously. I have a German Shepherd. She's my guard dog, so I'm no stranger to aggressive barks. But this was the most intense behavior I had ever seen from her before. Again, I have really never heard her behave like that. I thought about getting a weapon. I was really scared that someone might be at the door, but then I remembered that my cat was outside, so maybe it was just my cat making a fuss. Even if it was an intruder, my dog would kill someone to protect me. I looked through our peephole, but no one was there, so I opened the door. My dog had been barking the whole time. When I opened the door, instead of going out to sniff around like she usually does, she planted herself in front of me and got even louder. She was guarding me. I have never seen anything like that from her. I looked out to see what it could be, and then I saw it. The first thing I noticed were the eyes. It was sort of like when you shine a light on animal eyes, sort of glowing in the nighttime darkness. I then noticed the antlers and thought it must be a deer. But then I realized its face looked about 9 feet above the ground. Then I noticed its body. I could make out the outline and tell that it was fur, but it was standing in a human-like position, hunched over almost, on its hind legs. I have never been so terrified. As soon as I realized I was looking at something paranormal, I slammed all of the doors, shut all of my windows, locked all of the doors, and hid under the sheets like I was a little kid. I'm still shaken up. I can't stop thinking about it. I haven't fallen asleep tonight because every time I close my eyes, I see it. I'm curious what this creature was. I know the appearance of a Wendigo is debated and seems to be controversial, but I am still terrified by what I saw. I live in rural North Carolina, with lots of woods, decently spaced out farmland, and lots of critters. I'm also a little more in tune to supernatural things than some people. Like my eyes well up with tears, and I get a spine-rolling chill if something that isn't human is around me. Last night, around 1:40ish in the morning, I'm on a call with my boyfriend, with my bedroom light on. My bedroom has a large window facing the road, and from around the corner of my eye, I see a blur of white dart back and forth twice. Immediately, I get a churn in my stomach, my eyes well up, and I get a shiver down my spine. Normally, I don't hone in on this, because I don't like to mess with spirits. My house has a few, and while I know I live here now, I also know it was once their house, and I want to be respectful to them and the place they live and died in. However, I completely freak out at this, turn my light off, slip under my blankets, and watch the window. The shivering is gone, for now, but there's a deep gut feeling of unease. My cat got up from where she was napping by the window and left my room in a hurry. Wouldn't even let me touch her, which is odd for her, because she's hyper-affectionate like a dog. And even as I'm writing this, she's in my lap purring up a storm. So that in itself was scary. However, my boyfriend has had experiences with supernatural creatures and entities, so I'm talking to him about it and he's trying to help me understand it. When describing its appearance, I tell him that the creature is tall, and then go on to, and so pale, to which he said, "Pale like me or pale pale?" And I responded, "Pale, pale, pale." The conversation keeps going, and my partner brings up skinwalkers and wendigos. I'm not claiming that this was either of those things. I simply don't know enough. Fast forward, my boyfriend asks out of the blue what his birthday is, and I responded with his birthday, asking why he would ask that. He said, "Asking for personal information is a good way to see if someone has been taken." And at the word taken, my whole body thrums. like I grabbed the cord of a guitar, pulled, and released. Later on, after I left my bedroom, locked my doors, checked that my cats are inside, and have rung a bell a few times, as a friend who is experienced in supernatural encounters tells me to do, I sit down and I begin to research. It's about 2:30, and I typed in Wendigo into Google. I receive no shiver and get the information. I then type in Skinwalker, and the full body thrum is back, so I cleared my Google search bar and exited that square, and nothing happens after that. It was Rural Hill County, Texas, 2005. We had a couple acres of land with the majority of the property, pretty much all but the house, the second house, the shed and the driveway, being completely surrounded by trees. I was 5 at the time, and got in the back of our family car, getting ready to go to the store. My dad was walking from the shed, getting ready to take me and my brother, who was 6. We peek out of the back window, looking back at our dad, as we see from the right side of the forest, a large, skinny, white, solid creature with long arms and legs run out, bipedal. It ran just past our dad. I was young at the time, so bear with me, but it couldn't have been more than 50 feet away. We watched it run all the way past him directly to our shed, where it jumped on all fours and crawled under. The shed was propped up on concrete bricks, probably about 8 inches. My brother and I returned looks to each other, and we just started crying. Almost 20 years later, and my brother and I can still describe in full detail to each other how it was relative to the house and the shed and other things. My mother tells me she believes me now. She said creepy stuff happened there all the time. That moment gave me a fear of the outside for a long time. However, if I could, I would like to see it again, just to know what it is. Two weeks ago, me and a group of buddies were having a bonfire out in Kuna, Idaho. I was feeling down that night, so I decided to unload my dirt bike and take a little night ride on some trails. I went alone and rode for probably 3 miles from the fire up to the hill. I sat up there for probably 45 minutes, and I was 100% alone up there. There was nobody around. From time to time, I would start hearing small laughter really close by. It sounded like 2 to 3 people. It wasn't constant. I would hear it every 5 minutes, and it kept getting closer. I had that funny feeling that I wasn't alone after all. So I went to start my bike, and of course it doesn't start. I was able to bump start it going down the hill, and it did not want to stay running. I don't think it sat long enough for the engine temperature to drop all the way back down. I had to keep revving it to keep it running to head back to the fire. The whole time I was really scared for no reason. I couldn't convince myself to go faster than 5 miles per hour, which was strange because I always haul ass. I have a light bar mounted on my bike, so I was able to see just fine. At first, riding back, I thought I saw shadowy figures in the corner of my eyes, but they would just disappear. I made it back safe and nothing else happened, but I knew there was something out there that night. I didn't think much of it until I heard my buddies talking about Skinwalker stories in the same area. People tell me I got extremely lucky that night. I don't know what to believe. Who knows what was out there with me that night? The laughter, my bike not wanting to run, the feeling I had, and the shadow figures are all things in common I saw from other stories. It was a strange night. This happened in North Las Vegas, Nevada. This is something that I experienced about 4 or 5 years ago. I had some friends over from out of town. We were talking about the paranormal experiences we've had in the past. During the conversation, we experienced a few odd things. At first, it was just a lot of loud walking upstairs. We were home alone, and it wasn't any of us. That part wasn't very weird to me. My family and I already believed the spirit of the previous owner was still in the house. We had a lot of experiences with her, and a neighbor had told us that she had died in the garage of our house. But as we continued with our stories, one of my friends saw what looked like a large black bird flying up my staircase. When we checked, we didn't see anything there, but since we all had our own experiences and reasons to believe in the paranormal, we decided that it was a sign to stop and change the subject. After that, things settled down, and my friends left the next day and went home. A few days after my friends had left, I woke up in the middle of the night. I think it was sometime after midnight, and as I would normally do, I went downstairs and got some water from the garage. When I grabbed the water from the pack, I looked up, and very close to me, I saw a figure standing there. It was very clear. It stood about 7 or 8 feet tall. Its arms, legs, and torso looked like a very muscular man, and its head looked massive, like a wolf. Its skin and fur was black like charcoal. As soon as I saw it, I bolted back into my house, locked the garage, and went straight to my room. The energy coming off of it was utterly terrifying. It's the only paranormal experience that I've had that I actually felt like I was in real danger. I did move from that house years ago, but still to this day, I have yet to have anyone be able to give me a solid ID on what I saw. Personally, I think it was either a demon or a skinwalker. I know there was a Native American reservation not far from the house. Additionally, just outside the neighborhood, there was a decent-sized plot of empty land that was owned by the Air Force. And my family and I had seen 2 massive coyotes, bigger than anyone in my family had ever seen, wandering the neighborhood.